he has any artifacts. Luin feels disheartened by the implication that if he had such an artifact, he wouldn't have ended up in this situation. He wonders why the professor is asking him this question. Upon hearing this, Professor responds by saying that a red light had surrounded his body just before the lightning bolt was about to hit him, which seemed to be protecting him from Ben's magic, an artifact like protection. Luin is already deeply confused about many things and doesn't understand what his professor is referring to. Upon hearing about the artifact, he starts to wonder if it could be related to the strange dream he had seen a while ago. However, he pushes aside his thoughts and assures his professor that he is certain he doesn't have any artifact. His professor listens to his words but doesn't provide any response, simply saying okay before leaving. Luin finds his professor's behavior somewhat peculiar and wonders if something is going on in their mind. He focuses on the matter and tries to recall the voice he heard earlier, concentrating hard until he remembers the status window. As soon as he thinks about it, the status window appears, causing him to panic and try to retreat. In the midst of his panic, Helen enters the room with a report and becomes alarmed at his condition. Luin gestures towards the status window, asking Helen if she can see it too. Helen becomes flustered upon hearing Luin's words, thinking that something might be wrong, and she doesn't see the status window. Upon hearing Helen's words, Luin becomes even more anxious. The system window then appears again, revealing that magician Draka's world had ended when he attempted to harness the infinite strength behind the waterfall, as it was his only power, the ability to evoke mana since birth. Luin has become an artifact of Draka, which can protect the status windows and increase his power limitlessly through quests. His current strength is 150 plus, ability 100, and wisdom 1e 550. Realizing that only he can see the system window, Luin makes up an excuse and lies to Helen. Helen, not finding it amusing, insists that everything is normal according to her report, and Luin can return to his dorms. Luin thanks her and she leaves. However, Luin is still lost in thought. Despite the lightning bolt incident, he feels perfectly normal. He thinks about the man who appeared in space with red eyes and remembers that the status window revealed he was Draka's incarnation. This leads him to wonder if Draka's artifact transferred to him somehow. Luin, after leaving the hospital, heads to his training hall at night. There, a status window appears, presenting him with a quest. It instructs him to increase his body's strength by performing 100 punches, 100 spins, and 100 kicks. Although Luin doesn't find the training task particularly challenging upon seeing the status window, he wonders how it can help him become a magician. Nevertheless, he feels motivated by the status window and begins his training according to its instructions. As Luin continues his training, he realizes that even the slightest mistake is not counted in the system window. Therefore, he begins his training with proper form, and as the night progresses, he becomes quite exhausted, struggling to catch his breath. Despite the fatigue, he feels immense joy after completing his training, with sweat dripping from his face as a testament to his hard work. Upon finishing his training, a system window appears, granting him a plus 10 strength boost and unlocking a new skill. After receiving the new strength, Luin senses a new power coursing through his veins, initially feeling somewhat strange to him, but fundamentally more profound than mana. He tests his newfound strength by quickly striking the nearby scarecrow, realizing that he has become significantly stronger. His speed, air resistance, and destructive power have all increased, making him much more powerful than before. Excited to train his new skill, Luin opens his status window to see that the name of his new skill is Force Circle Passive, which replaces mana with strength. This discovery motivates him even further to explore and develop his new abilities. As Luin reads further, he feels a bit confused and wonders if his mana will indeed be replaced by his strength. He tries to feel his heart, as those who feel and study mana typically have mana circles around their hearts. These circles play a crucial role in releasing and strengthening mana, with their number increasing based on the depth of the mana and the magician's ability to control it. Luin had 4 mana circles before, slightly more than usual for his age, but they were of no use to him due to his disability. Now, with the introduction of Force Circle passive, Luin contemplates what this means for his magical abilities and how it will affect his future as a magician. As Luin tries to feel his mana circles, he senses something unsettling. His mana circles have disappeared, replaced by the swirling energy of the Force Circle. At first, he's taken aback because it's uncommon for a magician to lack mana circles. This realization leaves him feeling anxious about what the future holds for him as a magician. Despite his initial apprehension, Luin tries to reassure himself that panicking won't help, and that he needs to focus on understanding this new development. With determination, he creates a fireball in his hand to test his new ability. Luin is amazed to find that the firebolt cast from his practical test is significantly larger and more powerful than usual, casting at an incredible speed. This revelation shocks him, and he realizes that this power must be from an artifact, instilling him with newfound confidence. He becomes so engrossed in using his newfound power and the intensity of his training that he loses track of time. Exhausted from his efforts, he falls asleep right there in the training hall, unaware of when morning arrives as he sleeps on the floor. Luin realizes the situation when he finds himself surrounded by his classmates, who are making noise and seem relieved to see him awake. Sensing their concern, he reassures them that he simply fell asleep due to exhaustion. However, his classmates find his behavior strange, especially when they notice the training scarecrow standing charred and burnt nearby. They can't quite grasp what Luin might have done, but they hesitate to trust him fully as he seems weak and unreliable in their eyes. Luin responds to Jason's inquiry about sleeping in the training hall by explaining that he simply got exhausted from training. Jason, being from the renowned Damon family known for their casting and mining skills, contrasts with the other students who treat Luin poorly. Despite his reputation for being a bit of a wild one, often indulging in alcohol and the company of girls, Jason treats Luin kindly, which sets him apart from the others. As Luin sits in the bathtub, contemplating his recent quest, he opens the status window to review the requirements. He learns that he needs to intensify his training, with a focus on improving his kicks, both regular kicks and spin kicks. Despite feeling a bit overwhelmed by the increased demand, Luin is determined to rise to the challenge and commit to his daily training regimen to enhance his skills further. Luin feels a bit disheartened by the thought of the rigorous training required to become a magician. However, he persists with determination, dedicating himself to intense training for a month straight. He understands the consequences of missing even a single day of training, as it would reset his progress to 0. Despite the challenges, Luin finds satisfaction in seeing his strength and power continuously increase through his efforts. He's relieved that the training requirements don't exceed 3,000 times, as surpassing that limit would seem daunting, and perhaps even life-threatening. On putting in so much effort, Luin unlocks a new skill called Body Arts, which increases the abilities of the body. Stronger and more elaborate moments become possible depending on his training level. Luin's intense daily training takes a toll on him, leaving him exhausted to the point that he falls asleep in class every day. This newfound behavior surprises his classmates, who notice his absence from regular activities and suspect he spends all his time in the training hall. Despite his rigorous training, Luin also dedicates time to research about Draka in the library, hoping to uncover more about his mysterious past. However, his efforts yield no results as there's little information available in the historical records. After continuous training for a month, his strength increases to 470 plus, agility to 100, and wisdom to 1550, showing significant improvement in his stats over the past month. Because of this, he wants to know who exactly Draka is, the reason behind him gaining so much power. While Luin is still reading books in the library for his research, Jason comes up behind him looking worried. Seeing Luin's face, Jason asks him what's wrong. Jason then tells him that the head of the Ardell family is here. Upon hearing this, Luin is filled with excitement and rushes over, because the head of the Ardell family is none other than his father. In the hall, he sees his father and his professor conversing. His father is delighted to see him, and they both quickly rush over to each other. Luin and his father sit down in chairs to talk, and Luin asks his father about the events of the past 6 years since he was admitted to the academy at the age of 10. His father is pleased to hear him and tells him that everything is fine. Luin then asks about the well-being of his sister. His father informs him that she is doing well and has grown up, currently learning swordsmanship as she wants to protect brother. Luin feels a bit embarrassed upon hearing this. Luin's father mentions that Luin's sister has always been bold since the beginning. Luin understands the reason for his father's visit and assures him that he is doing fine both physically and emotionally. Upon hearing this, his father expresses the reason for his visit, intending to persuade Luin to quit the academy and return home. However, Luin assures his father that there is no need to worry and promises that if he doesn't perform well in the next practical test, he will heed his father's advice and return home. After hearing his son's words, Luin's father trusts him completely and understands his determination, then returns home after talking for a while. And finally, the day arrives that Luin has been waiting for eagerly, which is the day of the exam. In the classroom, all the students are seated, taking their exams, and their teacher warns them sternly that any illegal activity will result in immediate failure. Luin's school exams are divided into 2 parts, the written and practical exams. The practical exams are further divided into 4 parts, including targeting magic power measurement, actual combat, and one-on-one combat. Luin has always struggled with Magic Evocation Disorder, which has prevented him from scoring well in the practical exams over the past 6 years. However, he has consistently performed well in the written exams. In the practical exams, the prestigious family of Garryhill always takes the first place. But Luin has full confidence in himself that he will change his record of the past 6 years and come first in the practical exam. A few days after all the return exams are over, preparation for the actual practical exam begins. Jason approaches Luin with great concern and asks him if he has prepared for today's practical exam. He is worried because Luin has been acting very strangely for the past few days. Luin reassures him, saying, "Yeah, I will try to approach it in a new way." Hearing his words, Jason feels confident in him and becomes very happy. From behind, the blonde-haired guy comes with his friends and starts mocking Luin. Despite listening to his words, Luin doesn't get angry and stands there calmly. The blonde-haired guy continues to poke Luin repeatedly and says, "If you don't want to embarrass yourself, you should give up on this exam right away." Luin stands quietly in front of him, denying his words. Luin, calm in the face of the situation, doesn't react to the blonde-haired guy's anger, which only infuriates him more. He angrily tells Luin, "I will show you what I'm made of in the 1-versus-1 combat exam later, so look forward to it." The practical exam begins with the first exam being the multiple target shoot-down exam. The method of this exam is quite simple. The examinee has to hit as many targets as possible with just one cast. However, this time, there is a slight change in the exam method compared to the previous one. The difficulty of the exam has been increased, and unlike last time, the targets are not stationary. Instead, they are moving. One by one, Professor Elric, who is responsible for the magic portion making, along with being Mikkel Garahill's uncle, calls the students to take their practical exams. Due to the increased difficulty of the exam, the students are struggling to score well. Then it's Mikkel's turn, and upon seeing him, Professor Elric is delighted and confident that he will perform well. However, in Mikkel's mind, the thought that Luin will lose badly persists, and he casts his power. Upon hearing Elric's voice, Luin starts hitting the targets, performing exceptionally well with his powers. All the students cheer for him, impressed by his remarkable abilities. Upon seeing Mikkel's performance, Elric is delighted and goes to Dean Tyrion Ignit to congratulate him, expressing that Mikkel could become the pride of their academy if he continues performing like this. However, the dean doesn't pay much attention to his words, instructing him to remain silent and leave. But Professor Heidel stops them to watch Luin's performance.